I'm standing in downtown Mobile on Government Street near the intersection of Franklin Street, opposite Spanish Plaza. It was built by William Ketchum in 1860. Mr. Ketchum was a wealthy cotton factor. He had just remarried. His first wife had died, and he met a widow from Wilcox County named Willie Crea a year later and built this house for her. The house has 23 rooms, and originally the top floor was designed to hold Mr. Ketchum's billiard table. The parlors on the first floor are 60 feet in length. As the house was nearing completion, the couple went to New York and ordered all their furniture for the house. The Civil War erupted, and this boat that was bringing the furniture was the last to make it through the blockade that would close Mobile's harbor. Major Ketchum, as he became during the Civil War, was off in battle when Mobile fell. And before he could get home to Mobile, his wife had the shock of her life. There was a knock at the door, and two men in blue, Union troops, came through the house and went floor by floor without telling her or her servant a word. When they left, her maid went downtown to see if she could find out what was going on, and she came back very upset and told Mrs. Ketchum that the Yankees were going to take her house and turn it into their headquarters. Mrs. Ketchum went downtown to speak to the general and told him that the house across the street was vacant and they should move into that house and leave her house alone. The general was not moved and told her she had 24 hours to vacate. Mrs. Ketchum persisted, and finally the general, possibly because he'd been born in Kentucky, relented. He and his top aide moved into Mrs. Ketchum's guest room, and he quartered his men across the street. When Major Ketchum finally was able to get back to Mobile, he found two Union sentries outside his front door. He was puzzled and went to the door, and they explained he could not enter without a pass. He said, "But this is my house." They said he'd have to go across the street to headquarters and get a pass to enter, and so he did. And what he found out was that he and the general got along just fine. They all sat together at dinner every night. They became good friends. The Ketchums would live in this house until 1894, when Mrs. Ketchum passed away. Major Ketchum passed away a year later, and Mrs. Ketchum's two daughters inherited the house. In 1906, they sold it to the Archdiocese, and since 1906 it has housed the bishop and now Archbishop for the Catholic Archdiocese.